The rain poured down in sheets that evening, soaking the worn-out streets of the small town. Tom's hands were rough and cracked, his shoes worn thin, but he still walked steadily, carrying a small bag of groceries home. His little daughter, Lily, clutched his hand, her tiny fingers shivering in the cold. They had barely enough to eat, and yet, as they passed a man sitting on the curb, soaked and hungry, something stirred inside Tom, a quiet whisper of compassion he couldn't ignore. He had been through hard times before. Life had never been easy for him, and most days were just about surviving. But in that moment, he made a choice, a single, simple act of kindness that would ripple through his life and change everything in ways he never imagined. Before we dive into Tom's story, if you love stories that warm your heart and remind you of the power of human kindness, make sure to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, hit the like button, and leave a comment sharing your own story of compassion. Your support helps us continue sharing these inspiring stories. Tom was just an ordinary man with an extraordinary heart. He lived in a small apartment with his daughter, working long hours at a local diner, barely scraping by. Bills were piling up, and every month felt like a battle against an invisible tide. He worried constantly about making ends meet, about giving Lily the life she deserved, even if it was small comforts like a warm meal, a new pair of shoes, or a bedtime story without interruption. One particularly cold evening, as Tom was walking home from work, he saw the man again, the same man who had been sitting by the corner every day for weeks. His clothes were tattered, his face drawn with exhaustion and hunger, and his hands shook in the chill. Most people hurried past him, pretending not to notice. Tom paused. He reached into his bag and offered the man the last sandwich he had bought for himself. The man looked at him, eyes wide with disbelief. I can't accept this, he whispered. Please, Tom said softly, smiling despite the cold dripping rain. Take it. You need it more than I do. The man took the sandwich, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. Tom felt a warmth in his chest that no paycheck could buy, a quiet joy that came from giving without expecting anything in return. That night, Lily asked, Daddy, why did you give him your sandwich? Aren't you hungry? Tom knelt beside her bed, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Sometimes, sweetheart, helping someone else makes your own heart full. Kindness is stronger than hunger. Those words would come back to him in ways he never anticipated. The next day, Tom woke up to find a note slipped under his apartment door. It was from the man he had helped. The note was simple: Thank you. You reminded me there is still goodness in the world. But that wasn't all. Inside the envelope was a small card with a phone number and a message: I know a job opportunity that could help you and your daughter. Call me if you're interested. Tom hesitated. Opportunities like this didn't come often. He thought about his life, about struggling every day, about the constant fear of not being able to provide. Could one act of kindness really lead to something like this? He decided to take a chance and call the number. The man turned out to be a local business owner who had been going through a rough patch himself. He had seen Tom's act of selflessness and wanted to help him, offering a job that paid enough to cover rent, bills, and even some small luxuries for Lily. Tom's heart leapt with gratitude. It wasn't just a job, it was a lifeline, a chance to breathe, a chance to dream again. But life didn't instantly turn perfect. There were still hard days, late nights, and unexpected challenges. What changed, though, was Tom's perspective. He began to notice the small acts of kindness around him: the neighbor who brought over extra food, the bus driver who offered a warm smile, the friends who reached out with encouragement. And Tom, inspired by his own experience, began to pay it forward whenever he could. One weekend, Tom and Lily volunteered at a local shelter. They served meals, handed out blankets, and spent time with people who, like the man on the corner, had been forgotten by the world. Lily's eyes sparkled as she saw the difference a small act could make. "Daddy, this feels so nice," she said. "I want to do this every week." Tom realized something powerful: kindness isn't about wealth, status, or even having everything in life. It's about noticing someone else's struggle and doing what you can to ease it. That small, brave choice he had made in the rain was not just a moment, it was a lesson for his daughter, and for himself. As weeks turned into months, the ripple effect of that one act continued. The man Tom had helped regain stability and became a mentor to others in the community. The business that had given Tom a chance grew stronger, employing more people who needed work. And Tom and Lily, now with a little more security, made it a point to help someone every day, whether it was buying a stranger's coffee, offering encouragement, or simply listening when someone needed to talk. One afternoon, as Tom walked through the park with Lily, they saw a young boy sitting alone, looking lost and scared. Tom knelt beside him, remembering that moment on the curb in the pouring rain. "Hey there," he said gently. "Do you want to come play? We could use a friend." The boy's face brightened, and Lily held out her hand. Just like that, another small act of kindness blossomed into connection, friendship, and hope. Tom often reflected on how one small decision, choosing to give when he had almost nothing, had changed the course of his life. It taught him that even when we feel powerless, even when life seems too heavy, we always have the ability to choose kindness. And that choice, no matter how small, can echo far beyond what we can see. By the time Lily was old enough to walk herself to school, she had absorbed the lessons of her father's actions. She volunteered in the community, helped classmates in need, and even started a small initiative to collect coats for children during winter. She didn't do it for recognition or reward, she did it because she had seen firsthand that kindness was the most powerful force in the world. Tom watched her, pride swelling in his chest. He realized that while he had thought he was teaching Lily, she was teaching him too, about resilience, hope, and the beauty of compassion. Life was still hard, but it was rich with meaning. And every day, through small gestures, they were building a world that felt warmer, safer, and more human. Years later, Tom would tell this story to friends, family, and even strangers who asked about his journey. He never emphasized the financial change or the new job. He spoke about the moment in the rain, about noticing someone else's need, about how giving, even when you have almost nothing, can start a chain reaction of goodness. "It doesn't have to be grand," he would say, smiling. "Sometimes, it's just a sandwich, a smile, or a moment of attention. That's enough to change a life. That's enough to change your own." And indeed, his life had changed. Not just in circumstances, but in heart, in perspective, and in connection to the world around him. Tom had discovered a secret that everyone can hold, regardless of wealth, status, or age: that kindness is contagious, that generosity multiplies, and that even the smallest gesture can create a lifetime of impact. So, what can we take from Tom's story? We can take hope. We can take courage. We can remember that even when life is hard, even when we feel small, there is always a choice, always an opportunity to extend compassion, to lift someone up, to change a life. And sometimes, that choice comes back to us in ways we never imagined. If you take anything from this story, let it be this: your small act of kindness today, whether it's offering help, sharing a smile, or speaking words of encouragement, has the power to echo far beyond your imagination. You never know whose life you might touch, whose hope you might restore, or whose heart you might inspire. Tom's story, simple yet profound, reminds us all that even in the hardest moments, we can be a light for others. And in doing so, we find that our own hearts are illuminated as well. So the next time you face someone in need, remember the man in the rain, remember Tom and Lily, and remember that one kind choice is all it takes to change everything, because kindness, once given, never goes away. It grows, it spreads, and it transforms the world, one heart at a time.